Hello everyone, it's Lennon. I wanted to take this opportunity to celebrate the soul cards, okay? 2025, I'm on Deborah Koff-Chapin's email list, and 2025 celebrates 30 years of the soul cards, you guys, okay? A big deal for me because this is my longest standing oracle. And it is so beautiful and it's so usable, and I just wanted to take an opportunity to gush about it and celebrate its 30-year run with you guys. Okay, so I have Soul Cards 1 here, and you can, this is quite loved. It's really yellowed. The cardstock of these is a lifelong withstand, okay? Seriously. This is Soul Cards 2. Not as beat up, but still a favorite. I keep them both together. I haven't morphed them into one. So many people have done that in the past. They've morphed the two decks into one. However, my brain can't work that way with the backs being different. So if the backs were the same or similar, then I would definitely be able to use both of them as the same deck. However, I can't process that in my brain. And I've actually seen quite a few videos, and if I can find some, I know Mary Grace did one, but if I find some, I'll leave them below in the description box, of people who have taken the soul cards and made tarot decks out of them. Found some archetypes within them that could withstand for the whole 78 cards. Now, I think each deck of this is like 54, I believe, 50-something deck, 50-something cards. So, that's quite an undertaking to take, a little bit over 100 cards and condense them into 78 archetypes for the tarot. However, I haven't done that. I don't want to do that. And as my longest standing used deck, I just want to celebrate it for how I use it and for what it has been for me. And I actually have on the channel a video of me trying to touch draw. Now, this is the process of art making that Deborah uses that she used to make soul cards. She still uses touch drawing. She still has workshops and everything. I will leave the link to her website below. She even has soul cards coloring books available that you can color yourself, and they're very beautiful. Sometimes she has sales where they're free or really discounted. So like I said, check out her website because she's got a lot of goodies on there. Plus she has other decks. I think she's got the Portals of Presence, which are like faces. So yeah, anyway, so she's got a lot of things going on, and I'll leave a video of my touch drawing exercise down below because I've wanted to gush about this. And because this is such an oldie, we don't see it a lot in the tarot community anymore, but there's some things about these decks, the soul cards, that stand out to me and they stand out in a way that stands the test of time for me, and that's why they've been my longest standing used. They never put up in a drawer. They're always on my nightstand. I use them for so many things, but I think that the two main things that I love about soul cards is the art, okay? Now, even I would say that, you really kind of have to like this kind of style of art, but they're really intuitive, right? Sometimes there's figures, sometimes there's more abstraction, but we're really getting down into some kind of human condition with these cards. And I see a lot of human in this, but I see a lot of soul work in this. I believe that the deck itself uses a soul language, okay? And Soul Cards 1 is very much a little bit more subdued. I don't want to use that word because it sounds negative, but it's not in terms of color palette. It's more earth tones. It's more it's not as vibrant as Soul Cards 2, and we'll see them in a second. But it's not as vibrant, but the earth tones really give me a sense of the human condition and of the colors of the soul. This deck uses a soul language, and so many times when I've shuffled and drawn a card or a few, usually I like to work in threes. So if I'm, really feeling I just want a lot of images that time around, I'll pull like 3 to 9 cards and journal about them, or try to do dream mapping. I dream map with them. And there's such a sense of, there's like enough abstraction to where I'm actually able to see parts of the soul come up. It's almost like it raises up the soul language for me. And I really appreciate that. For like I just appreciate the way that the deck works. And it works differently for everyone, I think, but one of the main things I love about this deck is that it uses a soul language. And some of the terms that we could use for soul language is subtlety, abstraction, expression. I mean, just like this image alone, like there's just a way. I mean, it's so beat up. I don't know if you can tell. It's so beat up. I mean, I think I've had this Soul Cards 1 for almost 2 decades. So probably I've had these around 15 years. And again, I've never had the heart to put them up. They speak in such of a language that this deck actually helped me to come up with a soul language and interpret some of the more prominent symbols that come up in my dreams and my subconscious and things like that. It actually has helped me journal a lot and come up with journal prompts for other people that want to dive into those parts of the psyche. And I think it's just magical. It's just magical. And again, she does these with this touch drawing, which is like this ink. Her hands aren't in the ink. It's on paper. And she just like rubs the ink onto the underside of the paper. Anyway, like I said, maybe you'll get a little feel of how to touch draw like with my video, but she also does videos on her website. So you can find out how she does this beautiful almost abstract expressionism with this. And it just like, is this not the most like underworldy card you could imagine? Some of these are such breath, and in so many art styles that we could say speak the soul language. Mine, for instance, of course, is abstract expressionism. I can look at an abstract painting and find the soul language there. But there's such movement. And you wouldn't think that the soul or a soul language would have such movement, but it's like almost always swirling, always in a vessel. It's always whispering in your ear. It's about vows and secrets and mystery, but then it's about connection, and it's about those feelings that we feel, the human condition, the feelings that all humans on earth face. And it's about the connection that we have, I think one of the most beautiful thing that my parents ever used to tell us, me and my siblings, was that there's a universal human language that all humans would know. And that is a smile and hugs. And there's just like something about a smile and a hug that every human knows, And they may interpret that different, but they all know each of those. They know that when you smile, it's a positive thing. And that's a universal, collective, unconscious soul language type of a projection that humans have. And I feel that in this deck. I feel this sort of selfishness, the way that the soul is just so unique and unique to each person and each individual. But then there's this collective nuance that plagues too. I like the fact that these humanoids in these decks, you can't tell who they are, what they are, their gender. Like they're just so abstract that this could be any human, any connection, any soul breath, any sort of peace that they're looking for, any kind of love that they're looking for. And it's just one of those things that these decks do. Both of these. Well, both of them really. Like, look at just the use of her hands. Like, drawing these without really drawing these. I love this. Well, first of all, I guess I love the art. I mean, I do. Like, if you didn't love the art, you may not get what, other people do out of it. But there's something so volcanic. That's what I see here, a volcano. And then that's another thing. Like, I see a volcano, right? But if I turned it around, right, what would I see? If I turned it this way, like, you can even go landscape with some of these. If you turn it this way, like you see, it's kind of a serpentine energy, right? It's just however you interpret them. And people see what they want to see. It's almost like looking at Rorschach tests. These cards mean something different and would mean something different to everyone. And that's part of the soul language, Were these mostly upside down? Jeez. I tend to not use reversals with the soul cards, but sometimes they do it just because of the way I shuffle. And I'll just turn them around to like how I want to view them. So some of them do have like actual compositions. So there. Anyway, so that was soul cards 1. But that's the soul language is the best, probably one of the best things I love about this deck. And then the other is more of the oracular. Okay, now we're going to look at soul cards too. It's more of the oracular. Now, I'm not saying that these cards can tell time, can tell futures, can predict. I don't think that it's about that. I think, again, it's about the soul language. But one thing I love about these cards is the nuance, is the variable conditioning within these cards. But it's the fact that they don't have any words. It's the fact that there's no guide. There's no guidebook. We'll go the opposite way so y'all can see the cards in the middle. Trying to do this in a pragmatic way. And you'll notice that the color palette on this is a little bit more vibrant. For me, that doesn't mean that there's any less soul language in them. I just kind of, sometimes, most of the time, I'll say I prefer the subdued color palette. But these cards do have a lot of good colors in them. And that part of my soul that's very rainbow, loves that. But it's the fact that these didn't come with a guidebook. That's the soul language, no keywords, and no guidebook. It's all up to your interpretation, which even further cements the fact that this is based on a soul language. I mean, how blessed soul language does this look? Like symbiosis, right? Now, I don't want to get too into what I feel for each card because we would be here all day. But in terms of the love and the rapture I have for this deck and the way I would love to wax poetic about it for days is these two subtle things. Soul language and no interpretation. No firm, objective interpretation. You have to interpret what you see. And the fact that you have to interpret it makes it such a solipsistic deck. Okay? It just makes it your soul language that you've interpreted. You've come up with what these cards mean. Each card would mean, right? And that could morph. That could change tomorrow. Sometimes I'll look at a card and I'll think, okay, I see this mountain range in the back, right? And it's about like going into the third eye and following the trails, right? Because that looks like a mountain range. But then on another day, I'm thinking something totally different. I'm thinking about just, this is the spiral of the mind. It's not really about the mountain range. So the interpretations over the years for just one single card have morphed and changed. And I love the fact that this has an energy about it. The fact that they don't have any keywords. So many decks that would have an art style that you could say would have the soul language would have a keyword on it. And then that sort of limits it to me. And not in a bad way. Okay, because that was an artist's interpretation. Somehow, sort of interpretation, some of the interpretation of the artist goes void. It goes null. And so It's nice. It's so nice to read a guidebook sometimes. And you're like, oh, that's what they meant, you know? But this is different. This is different. It's almost like it doesn't need that. It can't have that. It's almost like to put a book with it or to put a word on each card would limit it. Now, again, that works with other decks, even with the same kind of abstract expressionism art style. Expression comes in so many modalities, but somehow Deborah Chapman knew that this was different and that it had to be different and that the cards had to be soul cards for whoever guards the deck. For whoever has the deck and is using the deck, it would have to be completely theirs. They would have to come up with their own soul language. So, yeah, the two main things I love about these decks are the soul language and the selfish nature of us as card guardians, deck guardians. I love that the compositions in a lot of these aren't symmetrical because asymmetry appeals to the soul. Odd numbers and asymmetry. They appeal to the soul in a way that gives us an out. Okay. And you can think of this in terms of tarot too. Like the 4 is so stable, but then when you move to the 5, you really kind of need that extra to push you forward because you could just stay. You could just stay right here in the rut, right here in the comfort zone. And it's really the odd number and the asymmetry is about pushing you outside of your boundaries. So I love that too. But some of these, like, look at this. Oh, I love the fire in that belly right there. Oh, and it's like coming up. Now, there's a lot more. The humans in the soul cards, too, is a little bit more present instead of the abstract, swirly nature of the humanoids we see in here. But still, there's still enough abstraction to where they could be anyone. Could be anyone. I love these big head creatures that usually have like big mouths, the creatures that look like eggs with faces. I like her use of landscapes as well. Of course, the swirling, the vortex nature of all of this just looks so surreal. I love surrealism. My heart lies in abstraction and surrealism, of course, but the fact that I can pick this up and it could be interpreted so many ways. And I know in my heart that there's never been a definitive meaning for this one card or any of them. There's never been a definitive keyword. There's never been someone somewhere that could objectively say, this is what this card means. I love that. I think that it would appeal to anyone, really. Especially, I guess, if you are in love with the art like I am. And so many people have loved soul cards over the years and spoke, about it. I know that Simon at the Hermit's Cave has even interviewed Deborah Koff-Chapin a few times, I think, on his channel. And maybe I'll look those up too and leave them in the description box because she's quite eloquent when speaking about her art and speaking about the way in which she likes to give her art to the public. And she's so versed in this like community, right? Like doing workshops and sound baths and things like that. She even has a YouTube channel where she does that. It's just such a form of community that I feel with her. Like she really understands the value of connection, but then abstraction as well. And look at my skeleton baby. It's one of my favorite cards. I'm glad, okay? Of all of the beautiful human condition things that we could put in any kind of deck, I'm glad that there's a skeleton, a death baby, if you will. So it just feels like this I don't know. I'm not speechless about it. I just don't know which direction I want to go now. But it does leave you in a kind of speechless way. This Marian figure here. Love that. But, and I've spoken, you know, so many people have spoken about soul cards over the years. I just think that it's so beautiful that she's celebrating 30 years of these decks out. That's a long time. And still going. People are still learning about it and finding them. And I hope that this brings more, you know, lovers of the deck. I hope that this video does. But, so anyway. Alright, we've looked through some cards. We've talked about it. Love the soul language. The fact that there's no interpretation, no keywords. And the art is just phenomenal. And there's so much more time that I'll spend with these decks in the future. And just thinking about my life and the last 15 years I've had with these decks and what that's done to my life is just surreal. It really is. So now I think I've done some videos on soul cards, celebrating soul cards, things like that over the years, talking about how I use soul cards and what I use them for. So I'll leave that below as well. I think that was one video. Maybe it was that one video that I was touch drawing in. It was just a gush about like all I use the cards for. So maybe I'll leave that below. But this was just a hats off video to Deborah Koff-Chapin, and congratulations on 30 years. And I can't wait to see what the decks have for me in store for the next however long I'll have them before they disintegrate. So, all right. I hope everyone enjoyed looking at these cards. And if you haven't, or if you've been on the fence about soul cards, please go check out Deborah Koff-Chapin's website. All right. I hope everyone's having a magical day. Much love.